Every single day, thousands of bottles of Johnnie Walker are opened around the world. But Blue Label? That's different. Out of millions of barrels aging across Scotland, only a tiny percentage are considered rare enough to become Blue Label. Some experts say as few as 1 in 10,000 casks have the depth and character needed. That means when you pour a glass, you're tasting something incredibly selective. But here's the real question. How does simple barley turn into a $250 bottle of luxury whiskey? Is it really worth the price? Does it actually taste different? And what makes it blue? Welcome to INDUSTRIA, where we take you inside the world's most fascinating products. Today, we're traveling to Scotland to uncover how Johnnie Walker Blue Label is made. Grab your snacks. This one's smooth. Make sure you stay until the end because we're going to show you how to spot a fake Blue Label from the real one, and sadly, there's a large black market for counterfeit bottles. First, what exactly is Blue Label? Before we even start the process, we need to understand something important. Blue Label is not made in just one distillery. It is part of the Johnnie Walker family, owned by Diageo, one of the largest alcohol companies in the world. Blue Label is a blended Scotch whiskey. That means it is made by blending whiskies from multiple distilleries across Scotland. Some of the key distilleries that contribute flavor include Coalila, known for smoky, peaty whiskey, Cardew, known for smooth, sweet character, and Clynelish, known for waxy texture and coastal complexity. Each Scottish region produces different flavors. Islay equals smoky and bold, Speyside equals fruity and smooth, and Highlands equals rich and balanced. Blue Label combines all of these into one glass. Now let's break down how that whiskey is actually made. Everything starts with barley, a simple grain. Scotland's cool, rainy climate is perfect for growing barley. In March or April, farmers plant barley seeds using precision seed drills. These machines space seeds evenly, plant them at the correct depth, and cover them with soil. Farmers monitor the fields constantly. They check for pests, disease, mold, and wind damage. Barley for whiskey must meet strict quality standards. It needs high starch, low protein, and uniform grain size. Not all barley makes the cut. Farmers harvest the barley once it reaches maturity. But barley alone is just starch. To make alcohol, we need sugar. That's where malting comes in. The barley is soaked in water for about 2 days. This tricks the grain into thinking it's about to grow. When barley begins to germinate, it produces natural enzymes. These enzymes will later help convert starch into sugar. After a few days, the barley is dried in large kilns to stop the germination process. Now here's where flavor begins. Some distilleries dry the barley using peat smoke. Peat is a dense, earthy material found in Scottish bogs. When burned, it produces thick smoke. That smoke infuses the barley with that famous smoky flavor. If you've ever tasted Blue Label and noticed a soft, smoky finish, that's where it started. The dried malted barley is ground into a coarse powder called grist. This grist is added into a giant machine called a mash tun. Hot water is added in stages. The heat activates those enzymes we talked about earlier. They break down starch into fermentable sugars. After several hours, the result is a sweet liquid called wort. Imagine warm barley tea, but sugary. The leftover solid grain is removed and often used as animal feed. Nothing wasted. Now, the wort moves into huge fermentation tanks. Some tanks are stainless steel. Why? Stainless steel is modern. It is easier to clean, extremely durable, resistant to bacteria, and precise for temperature control. Fermentation creates heat. If the temperature gets too high, yeast can die or create unwanted flavors. Stainless steel allows distilleries to monitor and control temperature more easily. This creates consistency, efficiency, and reliable flavor profiles. For large-scale production, stainless steel is practical and predictable. It's like using a high-tech kitchen. Some are made of Oregon pine wood. Why? Some traditional distilleries still use washbacks made from Oregon pine, a type of durable softwood originally imported from North America. Why wood? Because wood is alive in a way steel is not. Even after being cut, wood has tiny pores. Those pores can hold natural microorganisms, friendly bacteria that survive deep inside the wood. These microorganisms can interact with the yeast, create subtle fruity or creamy notes, and add complexity to fermentation. Wood fermentation can sometimes create slightly more complex, softer flavors. But there's a trade-off. Wood is harder to clean. It can't be sterilized as aggressively. It requires more maintenance, and it eventually needs replacing. So why keep using it? Tradition and flavor nuance. Some distilleries believe wooden washbacks add a layer of character that stainless steel cannot replicate. It's like cooking in a cast iron pan versus a brand new non-stick pan. Both work, but they're not identical. Yeast is added. Yeast is not magic. It's alive. Yeast is a microscopic living organism, a type of fungus. You can't see it with your eyes, but it's everywhere in nature. And without yeast, there would be no bread, no beer, no wine, no whiskey. The yeast is either sprinkled directly into the fermentation tank or mixed with water first, then pumped in. Once added, fermentation begins almost immediately. Within hours, the yeast starts eating sugar. Carbon dioxide bubbles rise. The liquid begins to foam, and the temperature naturally increases. The tanks may look calm at first, but inside, it's extremely active. After about 23 days, the liquid becomes something similar to beer. It's called wash. Alcohol content around 79%. No bubbles. Cloudy. Not pleasant to drink. Sound familiar? Just like cognac starts as sour wine, Scotch starts as strong beer. The wash now enters large copper pot stills. Copper is extremely important because it removes bad sulfur flavors. It helps purify the alcohol, and it improves smoothness. The wash is heated. Alcohol evaporates before water because it has a lower boiling point. The vapor rises, travels through the still, and is cooled back into liquid. This process usually happens twice. First distillation produces low wines, around 20 to 25% alcohol. Second distillation produces new make spirit, around 68 to 70% alcohol. At this stage, the liquid is completely clear, no color, very sharp taste. It does not taste like Blue Label yet, not even close. The clear spirit is poured into oak barrels. These barrels are extremely important. Most Scotch matures in former bourbon barrels from the United States and former sherry casks from Spain. The law requires Scotch whiskey to age at least 3 years, but Blue Label contains whiskies aged much longer, sometimes 20, 30, even 40+ years. Inside the barrel, magic happens. The wood adds flavors like vanilla, caramel, spice. Oxygen slowly enters and softens the alcohol. Some liquid evaporates, called the angel's share. Every year, about 2% of the whiskey disappears into the air. Imagine losing 2% of your product every year for decades. That's expensive patience. Barrels are stored in massive warehouses across Scotland. Some are cool and damp. Some are slightly drier. Humidity affects alcohol evaporation. Temperature affects flavor extraction. Even where a barrel sits in the warehouse matters. Top shelf barrels age differently than bottom shelf barrels. Time is the biggest ingredient in Blue Label, and time cannot be rushed. Now we reach the most important part, blending. Unlike single malt whiskey, Blue Label is a blend of rare whiskies from across Scotland. Master blenders taste thousands of samples every year. Their job? To find exceptionally rare casks with extraordinary depth. They are not looking for young whiskey. They are looking for character. Some of the whiskies used may come from ghost distilleries, closed distilleries that no longer operate. That means once those barrels are gone, they're gone forever. The master blender's goal is consistency. Even though every barrel is different, every bottle of Blue Label must taste the same. Imagine trying to recreate the same flavor year after year, using rare barrels that are always changing. That's skill. Flavor notes often include honey, dried fruit, dark chocolate, orange peel, soft smoke, spice, and caramel. It's layered. It changes as you sip it. Some people add 1 drop of water to open the flavors. Have you ever tried it neat? With ice? With water? Tell us in the comments. How do you drink whiskey? After blending, the whiskey is reduced to about 40% alcohol. It goes through chill filtration to remove fatty acids that could cause cloudiness. A small amount of caramel coloring is added for consistency. This is common in Scotch. Then the whiskey moves to bottling lines in Scotland. Blue Label does not use a simple wine cork. It uses a premium cork stopper with a synthetic or natural cork base and a wooden or composite top. Each bottle is individually numbered. That small detail makes it feel limited and collectible. Has a slanted label, the famous 24-degree angle. That design dates back to the early 1900s and helped the bottles stand out on shelves. Comes in a deep blue presentation box. Luxury is part of the experience. The brand was founded in 1820 by John Walker. He was originally a grocery store owner. His son expanded the business by blending whiskies to create consistent flavor. The famous Striding Man logo was created in 1908. Today, Johnnie Walker sells over 200 million bottles globally every year. Blue Label sits at the top of the lineup. Prices usually range from $200 to $300. Limited editions can cost thousands. After bottling, Blue Label is shipped worldwide. Major markets include United States, China, Japan, and Europe. It is often given as a luxury gift, celebration drink, business milestone bottle. But here's a real question. Is Blue Label about taste or about status or both? Let us know what you think. Now that we've seen the craftsmanship behind this bottle, let's talk about something serious. Because sadly, there is a large black market for counterfeit bottles of Johnnie Walker Blue Label. Here's how to tell if it's fake. First, check the box. A real Blue Label box is high quality, rigid, and perfectly finished. The gold lettering should be sharp, clean, and not faded or blurry. Second, look at the label. On a real bottle, the label is applied at a precise angle and the printing is extremely crisp. Counterfeit bottles often have slightly crooked labels or blurry gold details. Third, check the serial number. Every authentic bottle has an individual serial number printed clearly on the label. If the number looks smudged, repeated, or cheaply printed, that's a red flag. Next, inspect the glass. Real Blue Label bottles use thick, heavy glass with a flawless finish. Fakes often feel lighter and may have small imperfections. Look at the cap and seal. The closure should feel tight and premium. If it feels loose, poorly glued, or cheap, be careful. Finally, pay attention to the liquid. The color should be a rich, deep amber. If it looks unusually pale, cloudy, or has floating particles, it's not authentic. And most importantly, if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. Always buy from trusted, authorized retailers. From barley fields, to smoke-filled kilns, to copper stills, to decades inside oak barrels, to master blenders selecting rare casks, Blue Label is not just made, it is selected, it is aged, it is composed, it is protected, it is crafted across generations, and out of millions of barrels, only a few earn the Blue Label. If you enjoyed this deep dive into how Johnnie Walker Blue Label is made, don't forget to share and subscribe to INDUSTRIA. And tell us in the comments, have you ever tried Blue Label? Is it on your bucket list? Or is there another luxury drink you want us to uncover next? See you in the next episode. Cheers!